Good evening, coming to you live from the National News Studio. Welcome to the news. My name is Clifford Richards.
And I'm Kasani Balachandra Adhikari. We'll start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
The number of those affected due to incessant rains has risen to 158,000. The President orders officials to give priority to provide immediate relief. Schools in Columbo, Gampaha and Kalaniya education zones will get a holiday tomorrow. Schools in Kaduela and Kolonnawa education divisions will also remain closed. The government assures of practical programs to minimize the economic burdens of the people. Examinations will not be held again in the scholarship examination regarding the controversial question paper. Free marks awarded for all 3 questions. A jail term for Arjun Aloysius. Wind power station due to be constructed by Deni company in Mannar to be reconsidered. Hezbollah organization targets a drone attack on an army camp in northern Israel.
And we move on to those and other stories in detail. In your top local story tonight, the Centre for Disaster Management says that around 158,000 voted in 40,500 families as per today due to incessant rains in 6 districts.
In the meantime, the Ministry of Education has decided to close the schools of Columbo, Gampaha, Kalaniya education zones tomorrow, and also schools in the education division of Kaduela and Kolonnawa will also be closed tomorrow.
The water level of the Kalani River has comparatively decreased compared to the past few days, but the low-lying areas of the Kalani River still remain inundated. According to our correspondent, waterlogging on the roads and inside the houses in Kaduela area is receding. The Gampaha city and the main road leading towards it have been inundated due to the overflowing of the Attanagaluoya and Urualoya. Gampaha Jayala Road, Kirindivatta Makilangamu areas and the Akaravita Ganemulla Gampaha Road still remains underwater. The disaster and relief teams of the Navy are continuously in operation where people have been affected due to floods. According to the Navy, 48 naval teams have been deployed in coordination with the Disaster Management Center with regard to this purpose. More than 3,000 people and 500 houses are affected due to the inundation in Kalutara, Waskadua beach area. It can be seen that people preparing their food inside tents in the same area. Steps have been taken to close schools in Columbo, Gampaha and Kalaniya education zones and Kaduela and Kolonnawa education divisions after discussions with the District Disaster Management Committee regarding the continuous incessant rainy condition. Floods and other disasters have been pointed out as the reason for the closure. In the meantime, the Education, Science and Technology Ministry has issued instructions to the concerned quarters to take suitable steps by Provincial Chief Secretary, Provincial Education Secretary and Provincial Director of Education. Extended landslide warnings have been issued for Columbo, Gaul, Gampaha, Kalutara, K-Gaul, Kurunagala, Norelia and Ratnapura District Provincial Secretariat Divisions. Warnings have been issued to certain areas under Stage 1 and Stage 2. Army soldiers have been engaged under the advice of the Army Commander, Lieutenant General Vikum Lienage, and the Ministry of Defence to rescue people affected by floods. Accordingly, Army units have already been engaged in Malwana, Katugoda, Wataraka, Seethavaka, Meethotamulla, Kolonnawa, Navagamua, Palavatta and Yatadolavatta areas.
President Anurakumar Dissanayake emphasized the need for specific and sustainable program to address the recurring flood situation in the country. He noted that frequent flooding requires a long-term solutions for effective control. During a meeting today with officials from the Ministry of Disaster Management and the Ministry of Finance at the Presidential Secretariat, the President directed officials to prioritize immediate relief for those affected by the recent inclement weather in Western Province and Puntland District. Following the relief efforts, attention should then shift to repairing damaged properties. President Dissanayake also instructed the Secretary of the Ministry of Finance to allocate additional funds if necessary for flood relief measures. 50 million rupees had already been added to the flood relief budget to support relief efforts for those impacted by the disaster under President Disanayake's instructions. The President pointed out that flood occurred 2 occasions in this year, and he stressed the need to prepare a definite and sustainable program to control frequently occurred floods. The President also focused attention to the problems of flood-affected people earlier who were not compensated and to do justice for them as soon as possible.
Commissioner General of Education Amit Jayasundara says that there is no necessity to hold the Grade 5 scholarship examination again. The Commissioner General in a special media meeting stated that free marks or full marks have been awarded for the controversial 3 questions. Well, problems arose with regard to several questions of the Grade 5 scholarship examination of this year, and the Department of Criminal Investigations and also the Department of Examinations initiated inquiries into the same. In the meantime, the Kaduvela Magistrate Court issued an order to keep the director of the Maharagama National Education Institute and a school teacher in remand custody until the 22nd of this month on the allegations of leaking several questions of the scholarship examination paper. After this incident, the Ministry of Education took steps to appoint a 7-member committee to decide whether to hold the examination again. Regarding the question paper in question, Secretary to the Ministry Tilaka Jayasundara says that this step has been taken on the advice of Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya. 323,000 candidates appeared for this scholarships examination. Commissioner General of Examinations Amit Jayasundara says that all concerned parties are confused on providing a justifiable solution considering the mental condition of children to the problem of the question paper in the Grade 5 scholarship examination. He said that accordingly there is no necessity to reconduct the examination since it has been decided to award full marks to the 3 questions identified as the question number 5, 13 and 27 in the evaluation of the answer papers. All students, irrespective of answering these questions or not, will be awarded marks for them. He also said that the same process will be enacted in the future too in the evaluation of answer papers. He further says that results will be declared soon in the future examination in order to take relevant action in this regard.
අපිට ඒ කටයුතු සිදු කරලා ප්‍රතිඵල නිකුත් කිරීම සහ ඒ අනුව ඉදිරි වර්ෂය සඳහා අවශ්‍ය ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගැනීම අවශ්‍ය වෙන නිසා
මේ වන විට ඒ සම්බන්ධ විමර්ශන කටයුතු
Police media spokesman DIG Nihal Thaldua says that investigations have already been held in this regard and computers and mobile phones belonging to them have also been taken into custody along with the suspected documents. They have been sent to the government analyst for further investigations. He also added that the investigations are in the final stages and as per the investigations conducted so far, no complaint has been received regarding information on the question paper. He said that the investigations will be completed soon and the report will be submitted to court. Meanwhile, specialist psychiatric Dr. Rumi Ruben says that the affected children will be able to avoid the mental pressure caused due to the decision not to hold the examination again. The specialist says that one will appear for an examination with a lot of confidence that it will be successful, and the same will be common to the Grade 5 child or a person appearing in postgraduate examination. He pointed out that in this case, any injustice, the trust upon the examination will be breached, and the trust, confidence and the enthusiasm of the child who is appearing in the examination might disappear. He also said that steps should be taken to identify these irregularities and provide solutions.
Columbo Magistrates Court today ordered 6 months imprisonment to director of WM Mendes Company, Arjun Aloysius and 2 others. The sentence has been given to them for defaulting value-added tax. In the meantime, Columbo Magistrates Court rejected an appeal by 2, including Arjun Aloysius, quashing the concerned jail term. This case has been filed by the Inland Revenue Department against Arjun Aloysius and 2 others for defaulting value-added tax amounting to 3.5 billion rupees that had to be levied by the government for the period of 2016 to 2019. The court had issued an order on the 14th of November last year to the respondents requesting them to pay the concerned amount of tax. The case was taken up today in the presence of Columbo Additional Magistrate Bandari Langasinghe and Arjun Aloysius, Anthony Randev and Dhirendra John, who had been named as respondents, appeared appeared before the court. The third respondent, Prasanna Kumar De Silva, did not appear in the court. A warrant had been issued for him on a previous occasion as well. Attorneys appearing on behalf of the respondents when the case was taken up pointed out that their clients had appealed against the court order issued last November. It has been revealed before the courts that an order had not been issued for implementing the suspension of the order issued by the Colombo High Court on the 14th of November last year. The magistrate ordered that the concerned amount on VAT has to be paid during the day today, failing which he will be sentencing them to 6 months imprisonment. Accordingly, jail terms have been ordered against the respondents since they failed to comply with the court order. In the meantime, the appeal made by respondents, including Arjun Aloysius, quashing the jail term of 6 months ordered on them, was rejected by the Colombo Magistrates Court today. The appeal application was called before the Colombo Additional Magistrate Bandari Langasinga, who ordered the concerned jail term.
Marking of postal votes for the Alpitia Pradesh Sabha polls commenced today. The Elections Commission says that the postal voters who were unable to cast their vote today will be able to cast the votes at the district secretariats on the 18th of this month. 1,576 postal voters have qualified for the postal voting in the Alpitia Pradesh Sabha polls. There are 55,643 voters in the Alpitia Pradesh Sabha division. Although 10 accepted political parties and 2 independent groups have placed cash deposits, only 8 political parties and 1 independent group have filed nomination papers. Alpitia Pradesh Sabha polls will be held on the 16th of this month. Chairman of the Elections Commission R.M.A.L. Ratnayaka says that those who fail to cast their postal vote today will be able to cast the vote on the 18th of this month. He said that the official poll cards of the polls have been handed over to the Postal Department on the 12th of this month. He added that arrangements have been made to hold the polls on Saturday, the 26th.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Vijay Herath said that the IMF has reiterated their support to Sri Lanka in the productive discussions the ministry had earlier this month. He pointed out that Sri Lanka will work closely with the IMF team with regards to the next phase on the extended fund facility and the related reform program. Minister Vijay Herath stressed that the agreement reached earlier this month with sovereign bondholders in line with the compatibility of treatment requirements and debt sustainability targets respectively that the official creditor committee and the IMF have confirmed about it. He said it has to be pointed out that the debt restructuring process is about to be completed, enabling the government to proceed forward the third review of the IMF program. This will further strengthen economic stability, reinforcing the foundation for sustainable, inclusive economic recovery and growth. The minister added that in another development, an agreement has been signed on the second Resilience, Stability and Economic Turnaround Development Policy operation amounting to $200 million. This is aimed at implementing a reform program including economic governance, enhancing growth and protecting the poor and the vulnerable. The minister further said that the government is keen to ensure that these stabilization measures go hand in hand with improving the standard of living of all Sri Lankans and will implement practical programs to alleviate the heavy economic burden faced by them.
A girl student travels on a bicycle that's from Kathankudi up to Colombo and presented an epistle to the Prime Minister, Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, at the Prime Minister's office this morning. Well, this 14-year-old girl, Fatima Nada, arrived in Colombo on a bicycle. She had requested her in a message to take steps against the drug crisis, which has affected children and the youth today, and to prevent child abuse. A friendly discussion also took place between the Prime Minister and the student.
Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations Kanni Vignaraja met with President Anrukumar Dissanayake this morning at the Presidential Secretariat. Kanni Vignaraja has presented the report on understanding multidimensional vulnerabilities impact on the people of Sri Lanka to President Dissanayake. Based on the findings of this report, the United Nations Development Programme assured its support for Sri Lanka's development efforts. The discussion primarily focused on governance, constitutional reforms and the country's electoral system. They also focused attention for the necessity of enhancing women contribution for the national economy. Resident representative of the UNDP in Sri Lanka, Azusa Kubota, along with team leader for strategic engagement, digital and innovation, Fadil Bakir Markar, also participated in the discussion. The Attorney General today informed the Supreme Court that the Cabinet of Ministers has decided to reconsider the project to start a wind power plant by the Adani company in India at the Vaidithalavu area in Mannar.
Well, the Attorney General informed this matter to the Supreme Court when a fundamental rights petition was summoned before the Supreme Court today. Well, the petitioners has requested to issue an order to make the decision taken by the Cabinet with regard to the agreement between the government and also the Adani company India null and void. The petition was summoned before a 5-member panel of Supreme Court judges, S. Thureraja, A.H.M. D. Nawaz, Shuran Gunaratna, Achala Bengapalli and Mahinda Samyawardena. Appearing for the Secretary of the Cabinet and Minister of Power and Energy, Deputy Solicitor General Dr. Avanti Pereira informed court that the Cabinet of Ministers has decided to reconsider the proposed wind power project on the 7th of this month. Accordingly, the matters included in the relevant agreement between the government and the Adani company and the matters included in the relevant petitions are scheduled to be considered again. The Deputy Solicitor General stated that a decision will be taken regarding this matter after considering the facts of both parties. She also requested court to separate a date to inform the decision of the new Cabinet of Ministers, which is scheduled to be appointed after the upcoming general election. She also requested the courts for the permission to maintain the agreement on the relevant project without any change. The lawyers for the petitioners agreed to this request and appealed to revise the petition in order to include the members of the new cabinet as respondents. The Supreme Court approved the request and ordered to submit if there is any observation by the government with regard to this matter before the 31st of January next year. The Supreme Court also ordered to re-summon the petition on the 18th and 19th of March next year.
The National Dengue Control Unit says that the number of dengue cases can be increased due to the prevailing rainy condition. 40,658 dengue cases have been reported since January this year. Up to now, 20 deaths have also been reported. Consultant Dr. Anuja Dhira Singh of the National Dengue Control Unit requests the public to take measures to prevent the spread of the dengue mosquito breeding. During the last week, only 693 patients have been reported. Majority of the dengue cases are from Columbo, Gampaha and Kalutara districts. Consultant Dr. Anuja Dhira Singh said that flood situation is now prevailing in the Columbo and Gampaha districts. She said that in addition, Kalutara, Gaul, Matra and Putlam districts are also affected by the floods, and instructions have already been given to relevant officials to take measures to control the dengue menace in these areas. She added that the public are requested to keep their household premises, working places, public places such as schools free of mosquito breeding grounds. She further said that all are accountable to control the spread of the dengue menace and to prevent deaths from the disease.
One person has died. That's in a blast that occurred in a factory at Badalgama in Dulapitia. Well, this factory has been producing various products from coconut shell charcoal. Well, the reason for this accident has been a blast in the boiler of this factory. 19 persons were injured in this incident and they have been admitted to the Negombo General Hospital for treatment. A person aged 52 years from Girihul area died in this incident.
Farmers in the Anuradhapura district are facing many problems since they are not paid a suitable price to the produce of their cultivations. They point out that the reason being the middlemen absorbing the benefits of their produce. Farmers of Kakirava and Galimbidruvav areas of Anuradhapura district are engaged in the cultivation of paddy, big onions, black gram, green gram, cowpea and corn. The farmers allege that although their produce is sold at a high price in the market, they have to supply their harvests at low prices, and the consumer too is at a loss due to this reason. Although the government has imposed an import tax of 20%, the benefits of the same has not been transferred to the farmer nor the consumer. They point out that a high cost has to be borne by them from the start up until the harvesting is done, but they are unable to obtain at least the cost. They request the authorities to take steps to minimize the amount that has been taken by the middleman and to give a proper price to the farmer as well as to the consumer. Shooting of the Telugu film titled Mira, which is a joint cinema project between India and Sri Lanka, is being conducted these days at the Nine Arch Bridge premises in Ella.
Well, director of the film, Karthik Gattamnethi, told media that they are grateful to Sri Lanka Railway Department in particular and also the Sri Lankan people for providing this opportunity to film this film in Sri Lanka.
And I would like to thank the Ministry of Railways and then the Sri Lankan media and the Sri Lankan people for being very hospitable and supporting us through this process. This is a film which connects a lot of history. We are glad that we've used a little bit of history of Sri Lanka into the film, especially the Nine Arch Bridge. The story has very long links to King Ashoka. It has a little bit ended into the present realm. It's an action film which can be seen by everybody. You know, it's a film that can be catered to kids, to everybody. The story has and requires a lot of elements from nature and history. So that brings us here to Sri Lanka because we needed a lot of forests and then we need to find a huge bridge which can connect the rails and the nature and everything. So, and then we chose this particular country because the story needs it and the nature supports, and of course to pull off an action sequence like this, I think there's no other country other than Sri Lanka.
Foreign news on the other side of this break.
Kamuda machan, prima kotumi, fantamai.
News. We're moving on to news overseas. Hezbollah drone attack killed 4 Israeli soldiers at an Israeli army base that's south of Haifa yesterday night.
It's one of the deadliest attacks against Israel by Hezbollah in over a year of fighting. A Hezbollah drone attack on a military base in northern Israel has killed 4 soldiers and severely injured 7 others, the Israeli military said. The attack on Sunday took place in south of Haifa. The Lebanese armed group Hezbollah said that it had targeted an Israeli military camp with a large number of drones. According to Israel's Channel 12, no warning sirens were heard before the attack. Hezbollah claimed responsibility for the strike in a statement. The Iran-aligned group said it launched drones at a Golani Brigade camp. The Golani Brigade is one of the 5 infantry brigades of the regular Israeli army and regarded as an elite unit.
Prima Kotumi, Fantamai.
And in your sports news tonight, the International Cricket Council has named Kamindu Mendes as the cricketer of the month of September.
Well, accordingly, he becomes the first Sri Lankan to be honoured with this title twice. Kamindu Mendes also won the award in the month of March this year, and the International Cricket Council has recommended Sri Lankan player Kamindu Mendes and Prabhat Jayasuriya and also Australian player Travis Head. The ICC announces that Kamindu Mendes won this award after a sharp competition. In September, Kamindu played 4 test matches and scored 451 runs with an average of 90.20. Accordingly, recently concluded Sri Lanka-New Zealand test series, Kamindu was placed number of records. He became the first player in the world who scored over 50 runs in each of the 8 matches he played. It is significant that Kamindu Mendes has tied Sir Don Bradman's record, achieving the fastest 1,000 test runs mark.
And in more sports news, Australia qualified for the semi-finals of the ICC T20 Women's World Cup tournament. Australia is the first team qualified for semi-finals in this tournament. In the matches played yesterday, Australia and England received victories. In the match between England and Scotland, Scotland scored 109 runs for 6 wickets in 20 overs. In reply, England passed the victory target for no wicket in 10 overs. In the other match, Australia scored 151 runs for 8 wickets in 20 overs. In reply, India women's could only score 142 runs for 9 wickets. Accordingly, Australia women's won by 9 runs.
And on that note, it's time to end the news together with cousin Mrs. Clifford. Wishing you good night.
Good night.